Welcome everyone to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. Welcome back. It's Monday. It's not Sunday. Fortunately, I haven't been feeling well for the entire last week, and yesterday was, I don't know, too much for me. Today I do have some energy. My nose is still runny. Not sure if it's COVID, but we'll see. I'm gonna have a little bit of Bitcoin analysis for you, and we're definitely going to be looking at ETH because ETH is starting to shape up in a way that potentially could turn in something bullish. So I'm actually finally excited that there might be some development on the ETH side of things, because usually when that starts going, it's a nice bit of alpha, especially if Bitcoin can perform strong as well. Let's have a little look at ECOS first. ECOS is the sponsor of this show. If you like the content, please go check them out. There's a link in the description below and in the watermark. And thank you, ECOS, for sponsoring this content. They're an awesome, fully regulatory compliant exchange. So go there, register yourself, do the KYC, and you can get some deposit bonuses and other things as well. So please let me know what you think, and give them the feedback and me the feedback so we can improve the experience. All right. Bitcoin. It's kind of almost too early to get excited, but let's sum up a couple of things that are positive in my opinion. First of all, price has managed to get into the X that we've outlined for the last couple of weeks. That was my major level where I wanted to reduce any hedges, open any longs, etc., etc. Price has seen a pretty strong, pretty beautiful reaction off the level, which is always something that I enjoy. A, because, it's a good trade, and B, when markets do react to levels that I think are important, that means that structure of the market and my view of the market is correct, which likely leads to being in sync with the market. And once you're in sync with the market, usually you tend to get better results. You just have a better grasp of what's going on with the supply and demand, where everyone is wrong, where everyone is right, where everyone is pressured. So this is promising. The other thing that's promising is if we look at this trend line right here, off the 27th of Jan bottom, we can see that on log scale and on linear scale, we lost it. But now it turns out it might actually have been a fake out, right? So this entire portion right here, reclaimed it, went higher, tested it again, and then had expansion to the upside. So, the trend line is sharp if we come back down to it and then start moving around it. Then it just becomes an insignificant trend line. For now, it may have functioned as the level where everyone thought, okay, well, this may actually be support of the trend line right there. And then everyone started buying it. It bounced right here. Everyone FOMO'd in on, I think, the Elon news. And then things started to sell off. So a little note on that. If you see good news, and that was not the only good news that day, you see good news of Elon, and then I think there was some other good news. I forgot. My apologies. And you see price pretty much undo its entire daily structure. You have two double lows already. Off this low right there. It's usually just a sign that it's gonna puke and at least rate the lows, make a fake out, then come back up, or continue the downside. Sorry, I know this is a little bit shitty. So anyways, that's hindsight, yada yada yada. But it had confluence with the idea that price, was very drawn into this level. I know I said that as we were recording last week that the chances of getting down here were becoming a lot slimmer. Well, we still did. And the other thing that we said last week is, let's scale in around here, this zone, and if we don't get there, let's wait until we actually take a crack at 60k again, and then start longing as we see a breakout. Because if we get up there again, it's becoming less and less likely that it's gonna hold, right? So it's going to get interesting. So the other thing, so we talked about the fact that we had support here, decent bounce. We talked about the fact that we nuked the trend line but reclaimed it. So you can pretty much see that as in my opinion, if it's a significant trend line, as a horizontal level. And everyone who trades price action concepts is probably going to hate me for saying this, but trend lines, if you develop your systems around it, they're one of the most important things, in my opinion, to consider. You just have to kind of develop a rule system around trend lines, and I'm not here to share all my secrets, but in my opinion, this is a pretty decent reclaim. Then the next thing that is developing as we speak is this little trend line up here. We had a high, second high actually made a lower low. If you remember me talking about this trend line last week, I said, well, I personally do prefer when they actually make significant new lows, and I said it didn't make a new significant low. So, okay, here I am sharing some alpha. It did now, which kind of gives a break of the trend line a lot more substance, if that makes sense. And then there's a few other things going on here, right? So we have previous all-time high right here. This is actually the highest daily close level, so we're kind of trapped between the levels here. That's resistance. Trend line is resistance. Trend line is support. Daily structure, 3-day structure at the green. So it's kind of still in nobody's land, right? I don't open the door today. Go away. So if you look at this, you gotta be careful not to get trapped too easily. There was a moment of buying down here. There's resistance up here. Break it. Okay, let's find more long exposure. As we came down here, get long exposure or close hedges, reduce risk. All right. I think. Holy shit! I'm recording. Cough. So, anyways, let me. Good. Someone else is gonna open it. So where's my story at? Oh yeah. It kind of looks like we're gonna be breaking the trendline structure here. Like that. Perfect. And we're starting to develop some volume. There's not a lot of volume. Oh yeah, and I was saying that this is kind of a it's still resistance. It's still a difficult structure to break through. If you're not long from down here, careful, because this can come back down all the way to 53,000. Get a retest of the range low here. This then here is the deviation. So this portion here is the deviation, and we're getting into range high, which is right here, or arguably right there. So this could travel all the way back down to the range low and then come back up. You could retest the middle of it. It's all not really, it's all reason for me not to crank up the leverage right here at resistance, if that makes sense. But then you got to consider the larger picture. Larger picture is, in my opinion, consolidation in the last, well, arguably consolidation since 80 days. Doesn't have to be. This could be a wrong interpretation of the situation where this is a triangle. This could also be some kind of corrective structure, and then this is a wave 5, and then this is some kind of running flat into the next expansion. But I would not be surprised, honestly, to actually think that this is a sideways, well, not sideways, diagonal corrective structure. And either way, even if it isn't, then this would be a pretty clean running flat. So one way or the other way, if you look at the bigger trend and if you look at the local structure, it doesn't necessarily look like distribution and the larger trend is up, right? So if the larger trend is up, it's probably going to continue up. So I don't know how you want to go about this. I think I've already given enough pointers how I do it. And I've shared the fact that I'd personally be cautious right here to get any significant long exposure. And then, everything I said in the previous videos is probably still true. Not much has changed. I remained focused on high time frame moves, and I've discussed pretty much all the high time frame targets in previous videos. Let's have a little. Did I delete? I know. Okay, thank God. Essentially, so I'll repeat it once more for everyone who is maybe new and doesn't have the energy to go back and watch all the other previous videos and find out what I've been saying. This is our previous range. Once we break it, there's a new range. That range goes all the way up to 90k, and that's pretty much, for now, I guess, all we need to consider and know. In between the first levels I'm looking at as resistance must we break out is around 69 to 74, 75, around these red lines. That's where I imagine that either we blast through and then become support and continue, or we kind of, have a little consolidation sell off and then quite likely a continuation later on. Let's have a little looky at ETH. I kind of liked how ETH had this sweep of the lows here, and then I didn't like how it kind of got stuck again. So ideally, I'd see another sweep, maybe a little bit deeper, and then a reclaim, or this has to come up and then it's kind of shitty again because because of the weakness that occurred right here. But personally, I think that any downside and then a break of blue to the upside is a signal that I'd like to take, and I would love for ETH to actually start performing again against BTC, whilst BTC is also performing because it's it's super nice money, and B, generally when both ETH and Bitcoin are showing strength, it's just a general indication of market-wide strength. So the likelihood of both rallies becoming longer and stronger, and just more money flowing into the space as a whole, which means that we can have bigger rotations within the space, because usually at this time around in the bull market, money doesn't leave the space anymore. So if there's money flowing into ETH, if there's money flowing into BTC, it's all stuck inside the ecosystem. And if it's all stuck inside the ecosystem, and new money stops flowing into it, we start having these rotations between different assets, which also create like these, big extensions on one asset or the other, or a lot of them. So let's hope we can see that. I think I've talked long enough. It's almost 16 minutes, and hopefully see you on Wednesday. Peace.